Hello and welcome to episode 2 of season 2 of the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts.
And I am Rodney Godak. How we doing, brother?
I'm okay. I'm good actually. It was a great week. The movie tonight I'm very excited to talk about. I really enjoyed Prey. I'm a huge fan of the Predator franchise as well as the Alien
hmm
franchise. Kind of can't talk about one without talking about the other, but we're going to try really hard to just stay in Predator land tonight.
It shouldn't be too difficult. I really don't consider the AVP movies that exist within, as far as the Venn diagram, the overlapping circles of AVP, I don't really consider appropriate to either franchise. I think they're their own kind of bullshit that
Sure, sure.
should not be ranked and tiered with the other films. It's just sort of its own standalone thing, experiment, a a guide of what not to do in some ways.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. That first AVP film, it's literally the worst.
It's pretty bad. I mean, and I guess that's a good point to start because when you consider things like that, more specifically, handling a franchise or an IP is a difficult task. And so whenever things are in a world like we are now with reboots and remakes and re-envisionings of IPs, how it's handled, it's rare that you get something that's handled intelligently or with the right kind of awareness to the original source. And I think that Prey is a good example of how it can be done proper and to much success.
Yes, absolutely. For any writer director out there thinking about rebooting or requeling a franchise, learn from Prey.
Yeah.
It
So, do you
it
want to give a
is.
rundown of what we're going to do tonight and our format and everything?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Do our spiel.
Yeah, I'll do our spiel. Um, we're the podcast for the recently deceased. We discuss the newest in horror movies. Prey just came out. We're going to talk about Prey tonight, and then we'll digress into the Predator franchise as a whole throughout
It's only fair to.
throughout the evening. Um, we will give you the broad strokes and a score, 1 to 10. Then we will let you know that we're moving on to the discussion. The discussion is laden with spoilers, so if you haven't seen the films, when we move into the discussion segment, you're going to want to stop watching and come back later, or to come back to our YouTube if you're watching live.
Absolutely. And so we're going to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being absolute garbage, do not want, 10 being a pinnacle film of the genre, representative of everything you want to see in new horror. And we'll go from there. Yeah? So,
Yeah,
Prey.
pray.
Read that line, brother.
All right, here we go. The origin story of the predator in the world of the Comanche Nation 300 years ago. Naru, a skilled, in quotes,
Yeah,
female
fucked up.
warrior, fights to protect her tribe against one of the first highly evolved predators to land on Earth. Um,
I
okay.
like the description. Aside from everything that came out after
Skilled.
this came out, right?
Oh,
It just
so.
write skilled. You don't need quotes.
Yeah.
That's a subjective interpretation of how to interpret that word. Like I don't think that's fair.
Absolutely, like air quotes means like sarcasm,
I
like.
know, and I feel like this is one of the dudes that's been really coming down hard on the film because of the female
The
lead
female lead, yeah.
that's in the film, and so it's an accurate descriptor. You take out the quotes, that's what's happening.
Yep.
Um, and they mention one of the first highly evolved predators on Earth. You don't really know in this
Right.
film, but this is before the original 1987 classic starring Arnold, Predator. And with that whole ragtag bunch of guys
Oh
uh,
yeah.
that just
Um,
landed on the scene and just tore things to pieces. It was an amazing movie.
what a
I don't
great
remember
movie.
how old I was when I first saw Predator, but I can tell you it just lodged itself in my brain, and I just always thought of it or always knew about it, and it's like just a go to. If it's on, you're gonna sit and watch it, and
Yeah.
it's the best.
Oh yeah. I think I was 12 when I saw it. I was very young, and I I fell in love. Between that and the original Terminator is where like anything Arnold, was like solid gold until like the
Sure.
the end of his career. I think maybe True Lies was probably his last like
As far as
great
last action,
his last like
uh,
great movie.
yeah, True
Um,
Lies is again another super rewatchable action
yeah,
starring Arnold. But yeah, so Predator just and it's such a creative character, and it obviously launched a whole world of an IP with comics and other iterations in film, and just lived as a staple character in all kinds of different media, and it was always around and always a thing. It's just a cultural like icon, much like a slasher character would be, except this one existed in sci-fi and horror, and it got
right.
to be in both of those environments at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly. One of the great things about Prey is that the a lot of the sci-fi is removed because of the primitive weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not as to say the Predator doesn't have some cool toys, but he doesn't have what he has in 1987.
Sure.
Um,
And there's all kinds of stuff that we can get into as far as the nitty gritty with that. Like, there's a lot of unique, like the people that designed the Predator, the people that made the art, that the guy Dan Ligiero, um, DiLiegro, sorry,
Julia Grant.
Dane Lee DiLiegro, that acted in the suit, did an awesome job. But yes, it's a different version. It doesn't have the same kind of tech, and you can
No,
interpret it in a lot of different
no body
ways.
armor, no body armor,
Right.
just that shield, which was super sweet.
Yep. And well, right, the shield, and then the mask is
Yep.
a bone like mask, but it's still integrated like a biotech type thing because his heat sensing vision and all that is able to penetrate and aid through the mask and everything else that happens. At any rate, it does have a more stripped down look, and I think this Predator they're calling the feral Predator
Right.
because in Predator and the whole franchise, all the different movies have a name for that Predator: the Berserker, the Hunter, the Elder.
Yep.
And I just love that they continually find ways to reinvent, but still keep it canon or rooted in some sense of reality to the world that they create. Like that, you can envision it's different generational constructs or alterations that occur in their own biology, or just the evolution of certain things or traits, or the tailoring. Different ethnicities look different on different parts of the planet. Makes sense also that predators would be the same way.
Hmm.
And I never use the word um, yauja, but like people have been using that a lot on Twitter at least to define it, which I didn't realize was the class or the name of the race.
Oh.
Did you see that a lot?
No.
Yeah, I didn't
No.
read the comics or anything like that, or read
Yeah.
any of the novelizations of it. But Yauja is kind of what they're known as, so it would make sense that they look different. And this film did a great job of creating a new predator.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So do you want to just score it, or I think we can go for it.
All right, so well, let's sure. So I look at it in two different ways. I
Yeah.
can score it like I scored it the way that I saw it, and when I first saw it, I gave it an 8. The excitement factor that I had, the enjoyment that I got out of it watching it, a new Predator film, I was just blown away with what they did because people had done it so awfully wrong before or missed the mark for whatever reason. This one didn't have as many of those that bothered me or took me out of it or was frustrated by it. This one was like, yeah, this is great. This is fun. An 8. In reflection, a more serious, like in film genre, I'd probably bring it down to a 7 for like broader scope. But as a fanboy type thing, it's definitely an 8 type experience.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same ballpark, except I think I was a solid 7 the whole time. But I do agree with the sentiment where the first time I watched it, I was way more excited, and then the
Yeah.
second time I watched it, I was like, yeah, this movie's a 7. And I definitely gave it a 7 before as well, but like the second time I watched it, I just confirmed my initial like Yeah, the things that bothered me the first time still bother me, so we can get into that
Yeah, it's a
a
weird
little
thing. It's
later.
the
But like,
same kind of thing that I came across whenever I was rating our top 5 of last year. It's like I wanted to include a foreign film that I thought was really good effort and entertaining, and I think that was the Queen of Black Magic, the Indian joint that came out last year.
yeah.
And so I would, while I thought that there were other films that were better than that film, I wanted it to be part of the top 5 because I feel like it was a really good representation or did certain marks, or you should go watch it because it is something you're not going to see a lot of. And so I think that Predators or Prey is the same thing, where it's like it's a good representation of re envisioning an old franchise and just fun action horror sci-fi type thing
No,
that would be enjoyable to watch.
absolutely. I mean, this movie had a ton going for it. The brother sister chemistry between Amber and Dakota was fantastic, and their dialogue. I
Yeah.
loved every bit about their relationship. Um, the Predator, it's a guy in a suit again. No,
Hmm.
no horrible CG. At least on the Predator. We'll come back
Yeah,
to
on the Predator, the CG
we'll
is very strong,
come back
and the way
to
that they were able to do the camouflage is excellent.
the
In
camouflage
this one,
looks
I thought it was probably
fantastic.
the
It
best
was like,
camouflage they've done.
but it was like more primitive camouflage, not as good
Yeah,
as the later camouflage, right?
it almost looked like the camouflage. Do you remember the Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss, or
I
did you not see that one?
I didn't watch that. Wait, The Invisible
The
Man
Invisible Man
was the
with
horror
Elizabeth
movie?
Moss. Yes.
The guy in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, and so like the suit had like scales that did the mirroring
yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
environment, and
I
I feel
did
like
see
this
that
one
movie.
kind of this Predator kind of looked like it had like a scaly type armor that did the same kind of principle,
Right,
and I liked that it didn't just like blur, don't just blur the stuff. You could see more of his forms obscuring, being obscured with just like transparency or trying to reflect or show what was behind it. And
right,
I thought
right.
that was really smart the way that it did it. It made sense and it looked good and it was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So what else did it have
I
going for
love.
it? The Predator was
So
great. The
the
brother
Predator
sister
was
relationship. What
great.
else
The
did you
brother
enjoy
sister
about it?
was great. Um, okay, so people complaining about the female lead.
Yeah, I
It's
mean
like
that's a big
it.
thing. A lot of people have been very, very upset and are just not into it because of that.
It's it
Word, does that bother you?
it's specifically integral to the story, and um, the story is very good, and it is minimal because you don't need a big story in a Predator movie, right? 1987 Predator. Dutch shows up. He gets sent to get the cabinet minister who is non-existent.
Right.
They find the other team. They find the hideout. They kill everybody. They run from the predator, and they all die. Get into the chopper, except for Arnold and the girl. Um, so this plot, right? We have this daughter of the chief, right? I think they're both like maybe not they're
No,
not,
she's
but like they're definitely both higher up in, or they're really good at what they do, right? Like she's like
yeah, yeah,
great at medicine and he's a great hunter, right?
right. She's
They're revered. They're not.
gender
Yeah,
roles are traditional, and in this culture,
sure,
women gathered, men hunted.
right.
That's the
Uh,
way it is.
but they're revered in their jobs. They're not
Yeah,
just.
they're both very good at what they do.
Yes,
Yes, yes,
exactly.
yes.
But she wants to hunt, and she lives in the shadow of her older brother, who's like the best, because he's not just good at it; he's the best, right?
Hmm.
Um, so she wants to prove herself, and that's all she wants to do is hunt, right? So she has a story, and then we find out from her brother's character that to prove yourself, you have to go on this hunt. They have a name for it, and it's like where you get hunted, or where you have to hunt what hunts you. And they say this like twice, and this is like obviously a nod to the predator, but it's actually referring to a mountain lion
Hmm.
because of the region of the U.S. that they're in. We know through predator lore that they go to where it's hot. Um, the Comanche region of the U.S. was Texas and New Mexico. That also explains the mountain lion, the rattlesnake. It could have been any kind of snake, but you know, if it was like the Northeast, it wouldn't have, might not have been hot enough. There wouldn't have been a rattlesnake, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, it's funny because they also mention it's September, September of 1719. I don't know if you noticed at
And
the beginning, but
oh,
they also
really?
describe it as the Great Northern Plains, and so there's a little bit of skepticism as far as like whether or not Comanche, but I believe it's all fair as far as the location of what you consider Great
Yeah,
Northern Plains. I think the environments and everything it still all works.
yeah.
You know.
Um, so anyway, so we have this great setting. Like the landscape is beautiful. Yeah, the and we have this great story where she's out to prove herself. So more than in other Predator movies, we have a character on the hero's journey who is going to at least travel that path. Right away, like the first hunt, right? She gets knocked out and brought back, and then she immediately gets up and goes back to help, or
Right.
tries to, but he comes back to the village with the beast over his shoulder, and there's you know. So so for a film that doesn't need a strong story or strong plot, we actually get it from Prey, and
Yeah, we do.
we get it with very little dialogue. We get it with a ton of action.
Hmm.
We get it with some excellent performances from both Amber and Dakota. Um, Dakota, I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. He was
I
fantastic.
thought that I read that this was his first feature film
Yeah.
or acting credit on big screen. So
Amber Midthunder was in Legion, which is a TV show, an FX TV
mhm.
show about the character Legion, who is Professor X's son, and she's fantastic in that, and was just crushed it in Prey. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you mentioned you started that with talking about what's working and like that people seem to be upset about the. I mean, the words that come up with people that are criticizing this are that it's not appropriate for a an un for an unskilled female lead to be able to destroy or overcome the predator, uh, or to battle it, or to be a worthy combatant. They don't like that, and they don't like that there's this underlying theme of the woman and misogyny and it's woke culture. It's very disingenuous. I feel like people didn't watch the movie, and ultimately you have to reflect that this could have been told from the perspective of a man, uh, that a male character was the one that was on the journey and would evolve in this kind of way. It could have been a
Hmm.
youth coming of age, and this was their adventure, but it just didn't. It's not. The movie doesn't have an agenda. It's like this is just more interesting storytelling. Well, how can we make this more interesting? This could be more interesting. It hadn't been done the same kind of way before. We saw Adrian Brody, we saw Danny Glover, we saw Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's change it up and rewrite it and
Right.
reinvigorate in an interesting way that
Right.
is believable, that does make sense, that's rewarding for and gratifying by the conclusion of it. And it all makes sense. She did not do this alone. By the end of the movie, a lot
Right.
led to where things go in the movie, and it does it all well. So it's not fair to anyone uh, to consider it or to dismiss it because of those few
Yeah.
things. There's a lot of things you can nitpick, and we talked about a little bit of those things already, and we'll get into more of the details. So,
Yeah.
but
So
yes, that
so
I agree. That's what's going for the cast, um,
yeah.
the
So if
predator
you're
design, and the story is excellent.
so you're if you're an incel and you're not watching this movie because it's the lead is a woman, get over it. Get a job, get out of your mom's basement, and just stop being a bigot.
Oh yeah, it's stupid. So the other things I want to note, okay, so before we get into full spoilers, some of the issues, broad stroke issues,
Broad stroke
and
issues.
this is it, broad stroke issues. There's one thing. This is in English. All the
Yes.
characters speak English, and a lot of what they speak is sort of a modern English with the way that they kind of talk or do shorthand, things that you would consider not modern, not native to the 1719 era
Yeah.
of in a Comanche tribe. I didn't let it take me out, and I chose not to watch the Comanche dub, which is a good point. They did do a Comanche dub. I've heard good things about it, but the film was still shot in English. So the dub that they have that you can watch, which is a great thing that they did, does still have an English acted
Yeah.
film and spoken language, but they've gone back and they've re-recorded Comanche dub, which is to their credit. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No one really would do that,
I
and
think
but that's
it's
it's fair. It's a little nitpick. It's maybe not the little nitpick. It's kind of annoying, but you just have to let it go. The film. This is the other thing. This film might change this in the future because this film has had extreme success. This is the highest viewed release on Hulu's platforms.
yes.
Hulu's streaming platform. This horror film is number one. Has the best numbers of any film that they've released on their platform, or film or TV show.
Right.
And so this was in development for a while and they had what they had to work with. I imagine that budget wise and the timing that they had, there was an impossibility to try to get the language experts and the dialect coaches to help recreate this from the get go in a
Right.
Comanche spoken language. And
Sure.
it's not wasn't as important. You know, the juice probably wasn't worth the squeeze. It would have been authentic and beautiful, but it probably didn't have to happen. And when you have budget restrictions, this is probably one of the things that came up, and it is we can't do it otherwise. We want to make an awesome film. This is just one of the acquiesces what we have, you know. So I would
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
right off the bat, that is
Yeah.
one of the small things that can take you out.
Right, right. I would also say that, yeah, the budget felt at times a little obviously constrained um, with the not with any of the animatronics or prosthetics. They were all
No, no,
fantastic. It was literally with there's a CG snake, there's a CG bear,
yeah,
and I think there was the CG lion, and
yeah,
all three of them were unfortunately. Um, they were definitely looked like CG. First of all,
right.
uh, they didn't blend well enough to be like
Mm-mm.
where you kind of have to scrutinize it to see.
Right.
And
The lion probably gets the most slack because it was night in
night
that scene and it didn't look that
exactly.
bad. That one, when I was rewatching, I was like, this one's not bad. But yes, the bear
The bear
especially,
was a tr
and the
it was
snake is
really
really
bad.
bad.
It was really bad.
But again,
It
to your point, yeah, there's a budget, there's a time frame. They didn't have all the resources that they had and the money and time that they had spent that they wanted to spend. They spent it on the appropriate thing. These are important scenes, at least with the bear,
yeah
but I'm okay with it. You know,
yeah
I can pull myself away from being too critical. But yes, that is one of the lacking things, and people will jump on that. It's fair. It's I'm sure they acknowledge that
yeah
it's an issue,
sure.
but it's what they were able to do,
I
and
mean
so
I kind of always complain about the CG anyway, so I feel like a broken record every time I do. Um,
yeah, you
but
do. But it's fair.
it's fair. Like if you're gonna use it, you got to use it. You got to use it right. And unfortunately, this was
Yeah,
not
I
that
saw
one.
someone in regard to the bear thing, but that's the other thing too. We just came off watching Nope,
Right.
and where there's the exploitation of animals in film,
Yeah.
and they used a CG chimp.
No.
I believe I saw someone tweet. I don't know how accurate it is, but in regards to the bear issue, someone said that they wrote a bear in one of their scripts or such and such, and a producer read it and said, oh, "I noticed there's a bear in it. There's only 3 trained bear actors in the world. One's in Canada, and he's an asshole. You got to take the bear out of the script." Something like that. So it's like it's fair. It's some There's probably not a lot exists. It's
Yeah.
not realistic. So really, do you do it? And at that point, whenever your budget doesn't allow for laborsome CG artists, then or your studio isn't going to use a company that does it well,
Right.
what do you got to do what you got to do. So,
No, exactly. I mean, straight
um,
Hulu exclusive. Like, you know, I don't know the budget, but from the it wasn't Lord of the Rings CG.
no. Um, So yeah, they did a great job. So I'm just going to mention a few names here as far as people that were involved in it. So the cinematography you mentioned, Jeff Cutter is labeled as the DOP on this film, and the film does have amazing, beautiful shots. There's a lot of large spans of the environment, and this was shot on location a lot of, and well, it was shot in I think Alberta, Canada, to be honest, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Big swaths of the landscape where you
Oh,
can see the characters in the environment, and also the biggest thing that I can say about the environment that's awesome. Did you notice like the where the tribe was where it was existed and on the plain. Uh, there's a lot of small shrubs and grasses that are like tall and like in the way. You have to walk around them and shit. It was
yeah.
very naturalistic. Like I don't remember seeing that in a lot of other films when they do like a tribe in an area. It's always
Oh,
like
it's
all
always the
flat earth
flat
with
sand. Yeah.
nothing around, as if they
Yeah.
dug up everything there and it's all clean.
Yeah.
This seemed much more naturalistic, and I loved that about it. Did you have something to mention about the cinematography?
Yeah, there were a handful of shots that were like straight from the first Predator that they were like, we definitely got
Mm-hmm.
to use the like, the top down specifically with like the slow kind of pan. Yeah, it was nice to see a couple nods there.
And then the obviously the art department and everyone like that. I'm trying to just double check the soundtrack. The composer was pretty good. I'm not sure who ran it. There's a few people here, music editors, music, but there was a like there's a theme that plays whenever she eventually goes out on her hunt to figure things out, and it's almost this film kind of had elements of not necessarily Dances with Wolves or but Last of the Mohicans a little bit. By the end of the film, I feel like a lot of the it's Native American inspired composure, and so like some of the strings and drums that you hear, it's hard to not associate them with films that were landmark films that utilized Native American
Sure.
uh, actors. But I felt a lot of that, and that was also a highlight for me. So kudos to those teams. Um, so yeah, those are the only nitpicks. I don't think I have any other issue with really anything. I don't believe. Did
Are we
you?
are we spoiling? Have we gotten to that
Well,
point?
yeah, let's do. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. Okay. I
you
just want
gave
the
more of a
audience to
seven. I
know.
gave more of an eight. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll get into more details. We've done a few, but yeah, let's just get right
Uh,
into it
so
then.
so in this movie, they come across some French. Uh, um,
Frontiersman.
they see yeah they seem more like invaders or
Oh yeah, but I
raiders,
mean, this is this
um,
right.
but like explorers or whatever.
Yeah, they're
Um,
they're still going expeditioning to the west,
sure,
and here
sure,
they're going after all the bison for the skins.
for the
They're
skins,
probably fur traders.
fur
They're just
traders.
going to
Yeah,
get skins and they're going to take it back because that was the whole thing. You get the skins, you come back up towards the Great Lakes, and you take them out to the Hudson and everything else, and it's all trade. They're
sure.
fur
Yeah,
guys.
yeah. I don't know. I just felt like the scene with all the skinned buffalo or bison or whatever you want to call them was so it was obviously a little bit of a nod to the predator, like 'cause that's what he does, right? But then you see the cigar and you're like, oh, well, this wasn't the predator who did all this.
Right.
It was
But
just
you
for
also know it's 1719, so you know who did it,
right. I
or can
just
envision.
I just feel like it was a little beyond belief
What?
for the time
That's what they
period.
did.
No, yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
that's what they did, though.
Right, but they wouldn't they have used the animal for more, or
No,
they
you.
just
That's what they did.
they
Yeah,
just
like there's yeah, because it was too much weight and everything, and all that. The only thing that was worth money was the skin, and that's why it was so graphically absurd that they were doing it because it was such a exploitation and raping of the land and the resources, and they went extinct practically.
right, right.
Uh, and that's all that they did. Like there's images. I don't know if you've seen the images of like where there's mounds of the skulls, and they're like hundreds tall by hundreds wide, and they're giant like masses of just bison skull. Because it was just completely obliterated by frontiersmen that
Right.
wanted the skin to sell.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah,
That
I mean, because there's even a scene in Dances with Wolves. Don't you remember in Dances with Wolves, same thing happened?
I never watched it.
You don't remember that? You
Didn't
never
watch it.
watched it? Oh,
No.
Jesus Christ! How can we
Yeah.
talk about? That's like a pinnacle.
I'm
You
just
should
not
have
a.
seen that with your mom.
Just
Your
not a.
mom should have watched that with you.
Just not a Kevin Costner guy. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Stands with fist. Um. Anyway, he's Dances with Wolves. That's his given name. At any rate, there's a scene like there you would have associated and you would have probably understood or expected that more so.
All right.
I
Yeah.
can
Okay.
I can
So then you have to give it to the filmmakers because it was very powerful and it actually like moved me. And when I was like, what? I was literally stunned,
I
by the
see.
scene.
Gotcha.
So there's that.
Were you going anywhere with it? You're just
uh,
mentioning that.
I know. I was just mentioning that I just thought it was a little wasteful,
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
and that
even
yeah, and that I was like affected by that scene.
I see. Well, and it's good. It's a necessary plot device because it's got a way to inform why these other characters are going to exist in this environment,
Right,
and so it helps propel the plot in a way that highlights uh, their inability to commune or respect nature and the land that they
right,
are living in. So,
sure.
but man, so um, this film, I love what this does with the way that it starts. She's sort of it's kind of crazy. I guess this could be another nitpick. She sees a goddamn alien spaceship kind of in the clouds, and she's like, I don't know what she's thinking. Maybe she ate some of her orange flower drug, and she was like tripping a little bit, where she
Yeah,
like didn't like freak out, like, hey, what the fuck? Something just happened. She's like just chalking it up to the gods or whatever. It's the
yeah,
Thunderbird. I
yeah,
saw the Thunderbird, and it's like I guess you could go along with that, but it's like a little bit like I feel like she should know something a little bit more sinister or concerning than that, but maybe not.
yeah.
It's what
Right.
it is.
I mean, when you think about the the time period that they're a
Right,
tribe, like they see something like that, they have to think that it's an animal. They don't know what machinery is, or that
right.
machinery
Yeah,
can't
you
move
just
on its own, or that it's something from the gods. Yeah, it's got to be one of those two.
yeah. So, but it unleashes the predator. To your point, the quick rundown of her story at the beginning is the brother sister bond is built. He's like talking to her about his hunting story, and she wants to hunt. He's like, you can't. You got to be a gatherer.
Right,
You're just not ready for it, or you can't do it, or you don't fall through. Everyone has their job. Just let it go. She's fighting in that. Um, but all the while, we see the predator drop off on the ship. Ship flies off, and then we see him on his journey. And predator's journeys are to find worthy adversaries and prey to hunt. And along the way, to find what's the strongest species or entity on this planet that it's on. And so that's what I like the progression of its searching for that because it
right.
sees it's neat. It's like the circle of life. It sees the ant get eaten by the rat, which gets eaten by the by the snake,
Snake
which the predator kills.
kills
And
the
then the
snake.
following scene, he sees in the next scene later, he's tracking this down. He's like, okay, the snake is the badass that I've seen first. Now he sees a wolf hunting a rabbit, and this I will say was shot with a
This,
real wolf. They had a real wolf tracking that they shot on a camera with a big arm on a car, a vehicle. So the wolf
yeah,
was running full speed, and they shot it like that. The rabbit, I think, was CG, but it's
yeah,
running. It doesn't really bother you. So the predator finds that,
right.
and then the next thing that it finds is going to be a bear. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I like seeing how it is looking for the prey and like it gets the wolf. And this is like the only shot we see. One of the shots. There's only two shots with the predator doing his thing off
Right.
camera or like in his own,
Right.
where he
He uses the skull
his little tool.
cleaning stuff on the
Yeah,
wolf.
just eats all the biomass off the
Yeah.
skull to neutralize it,
He
and then
he
he like
also
hangs it on his
he
belt.
also skinned the snake.
Yeah, yeah, he did a quick
Which
cut and he just ripped it out.
yeah, which is important to note because it actually comes back a little later here.
Yeah, so we can get right into where it goes. Uh, so Naru, which we mentioned before, the skilled female warrior that they mentioned, which is screwed up, and Tabe, they find out that there's one of their tribesmen that's been attacked and taken by a lion, and they're referring to a mountain lion, and so they're going to
Yes.
go out and hunt. She goes with them or tracks them, follows them, and they confront her, say, "You can't be here. We don't need to cook." So again, more of the fuel to feed the fire of the
Yeah.
misogynists
And
inside some of these
they're like
cells.
super rude to her. Like they're
Yeah,
beyond like playful haha you can't come along. Like
yeah,
they're
right. They
like
said he said we're not going to be out long enough to need to cook.
yeah. Like
And
if
it's kind
you
of funny. This is the cool brother sister dynamic. He's like, it's all right. She can, if we find our friend and he's injured, she can heal him,
right,
and
she's got the
that's
medicine.
important. And she's a
Yes.
great tracker, which she is. And
Right.
then and so he's like vouching for her to all of his like male counterparts, and then she's like, sweet, and he's like, so now you have to find it. She's like, yeah, I know. He's like, no,
Right.
because you have to.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, right.
he's
Like
like, I'm not fucking kidding. Don't make me look like an idiot.
right, right. Which I love. Like their
Yeah.
dialogue was so good.
Yeah, he's
Um,
awesome. He's a great actor, and he nailed this role for sure.
Absolutely.
He is like side character almost, but he's very important, and if and their chemistry worked wonderfully.
Oh yeah.
So they're searching. She knows that there might be something else there, and she's starting to get more inclination of that. That she's seeing tracks, or she's questioning something because she saw, um, things, but she doesn't really know what's going on. So it's they find their friend, and now the brother wants to go hunt the lion because they need to hunt the lion, and she needs to stick with the other guy that's injured to heal him. So they're on their way
Right.
back to heal him. She sees the tracks and she's like, I have to go warn my brother. There's a thing with a bigger track that's out here. She sees the
Yeah.
skin of the snake
The
and they're
skin
like,
of the
what would
snake.
do this? Doesn't make sense. So she
And
wants to go back out.
they
So
also say that it's
they do that.
they also say that it's bear tracks, and she's like,
Right.
it's standing on its hind legs. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
not
walking
doesn't make
around
sense.
two it's not walking around two legged.
But they're
Um,
both, they're not as expert trackers. They just like dismiss her because it again doesn't make sense. What else could it be? We don't have any reason to believe it could be anything else because nothing else exists out here. It's a bear or a mountain lion. Those are the
right.
only two options.
Yeah.
So it's logical. Anyways, she gets one of the guys to go back with her. They run into Tabe, and now they're going to hunt the mountain lion. And they're up in the tree as the bait because they're in the lion's den. He finds them, and she's like, "There's something else out here. It's not a mountain lion." He's like, "Well, look, we're already here. We got to kill this first." He's following the beast. The mountain lion comes, attacks the friend. Tabe is out somewhere else in wait, and then she defends it. And this is where the lion's conflicting her. It's a really cool shot on the tree, right? But it still looks rough, right?
Yeah, yeah. I actually love the this tree sequence. Um, I thought it was done pretty well. I was a little confused about the spear.
Yeah, the way that it does this in two different times. There's two different like weapon impalements that I can't track 100% with how they actually move to
Yeah.
manipulate. This one's a little bit more understandable than the other one that we'll mention later.
The
But it
first,
looks like she trips and she's like falling back and like comes across like this and it
yeah,
hits the lion in the shoulder as
yeah.
she falls off the tree. That's what it
First,
looks like to me.
first time I saw it, I was like, oh, she fell, and her brother threw his spear into the side of the lion.
Oh,
That's what I
yeah.
saw the first time. Second time, I was like, okay, no, that was definitely like her spear on accident.
Yeah, which makes
Um,
sense because later in the movie he's like, "Yeah, you had it. It's
it's
just
like,
you got knocked out."
right,
He references, I wouldn't have been able to overtake it had you not already done
Injured it.
that.
Yeah. Right.
Which is again another callback to what ends up happening by the end of the movie too, which is
Right.
really neat to see.
Right.
So you mentioned this part earlier, but she falls, she gets knocked unconscious, and she awakes at camp where her mother is tending to her, and she's like, "Yeah, your brother carried you back. He's out hunting the
He's
lion." She's like, "What the fuck? He's something else out there. I gotta go help him." She's trying to get
right.
up. She's like, "No, get the fuck in bed. Know your place. You can't do it." He comes back with the mountain lion. He has achieved what no one else could. He saved and protected the tribe, and he is anointed war chief by the chieftain, and everyone's celebrating. And he's like, "Look, you just couldn't close the deal." And he says something kind of too modern there. He's like, "You
Bring
couldn't
it
finish it.
home. Bring it
Yeah, you couldn't bring
home.
it home."
Bring it
Like,
home.
I don't think that's so. That again takes you out a little bit. Whatever, it's not a big deal. But that's the sentiment is what all you have to take it away from that and understand.
Right. Okay, so they go back out, right? Or do they
She is woken up the next morning again, kicked by her mother.
kicked
They
by
have
her
to go
mother?
gather. The women
Yes.
wake up early. They go gather first thing in the morning.
Right.
She sees the same woman with the toddler on her back. She
Yep.
decides, fuck that. I'm going out there.
Right.
And she goes out on her own. We haven't mentioned she's got a dog. We
Yes,
haven't
she's
talked
got
about
a
Sari yet.
dog.
Sari is the awesome dog companion that she has.
Yeah.
I love this dog. This dog really did look older too. The breed, whatever breed it is, it looked kind of like an older breed, more naturalistic to the environment. I'm sure
I
it's obviously a modern dog, but it
yeah.
looks older.
I really also enjoyed this dog. I like that it survived as well.
Yeah,
I
I
think
heard they've said that the dog was a bit of an asshole on set. It was just they adopted it for the film, and it was just sometimes it was there and sometimes it wasn't there, like where it would act, and other times it was just like, no, fuck off, I want to play. And it was super rambunctious and really liked her. But
uh,
there's lots of scenes, like long scenes, like where she's walking through the village and the dog's just kind of walking with her. It's a good trained dog, like, and it's doing what it has to do, and it's a sweet companion.
yeah, really good stuff with the dog,
Yeah, good
definitely.
looking dog. It's a emotive face. It was nice.
Yeah. So
See,
they head out because so there was two times where she saw the thing, right? When the first time when it came in, but the second time she saw like color in the clouds across the
yeah,
plain,
right
right?
when the lion was attacking her, the lion was
Yeah,
up on the
that's how
branches
yeah,
with
she
her,
got
and she
distracted.
heard noises, and
Yeah,
she just saw red lights in the tree line,
yeah.
and distracted her. And the lion strike,
Struck?
strike,
Struck?
struck. That's the word. Struck her. Sorry, I am my whiskey's gone, so it's like a little bit there. At any rate, struck her, and that's what caused it. So yeah, she's seen two things, which again she doesn't know what to chalk it up to. Just she knows something's out there. So she's out now, and she's just tracking. She's looking for something. What is she? Whatever she doesn't know what it is. Um, Throughout the movie, she's been. You can see her hunting with the tomahawk. She's obviously very versed
Oh
in using
yeah.
her tomahawk to throw.
Right. She's
That's her weapon of choice.
and she throws it like
Yes,
a mad woman. She's so good. And
and it's during this scene leading up to. It could be. I think it's before the bear, where she realizes that because early in the film, originally she's chasing a deer, and she wasn't able to get it because she had to kept tracking down her axe when she would throw it. She had to run to where that went and
right.
now run again and throw it again. So as she's now out on this hunt, she tries to get a rabbit and she can't at first. So then she is like, okay, I got to rethink this. She starts to tear down shit and make a rope. She fashions her own rope, attaches it to the tomahawk. Now she starts practicing it, and all of a sudden she's Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Right. With a freaking tomahawk and it's awesome.
This is
Um
a one smaller thing where I'll give a little bit of like disbelief has to be suspended a little bit because the physics of it might not really be working out
well,
100%
sure,
the
sure.
first day that she tries it, but she's very good with the tomahawk, so I could believe if she yanked a cord, she'd know how to catch it and has the weight of it understood to handle
Sure.
it properly. So let it go.
She is very good.
Yeah.
With the rope very fast.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So okay, so she's out there, and does the tribe shows up to bring her back?
Um,
Is that what happens first? I think
no, she sees the bear first.
the bear is
The bear happens
first.
first. Yeah, because she gets her war paint and everything washed off, and then she's like washed up, and then she encounters them to take her back, and she's like, "No, we have to go. There's something out there," and they're like, "Your brother's out on the other side of the mountain." She's like, "Oh shit, we have to go get him. That's where I left the thing, the predator." The
Right,
bear
right,
encounter
right,
comes first,
right.
but she
Okay,
finds something. She finds the mud pit first. She's
right.
made her axe with the thing. She's just looking around. Uh,
Oh, right. She gets stuck. Yeah, she gets stuck in
This
the
is
mud
where we
pit.
see the predator cleaning the wolf's skull. The
Yeah.
predator then hears the dog barking and starts to track the dog bark.
Right,
And she encounters the mud pit where she gets stuck. And the only thing that saves her is the weapon that she made. She throws it onto the brambles. And this is a cool scene because they kind of like misdirect here. I thought we were going to get a re envisioning of Arnold's scene in the mud.
right, right. They had her covered in mud, but they didn't bother to have the
And it's
predator
like, and
not
she
see
crawls
her.
out
Yeah,
and she's right in front of a bunch of roots, which is exactly what Arnold was in front of. He crawled up and he was holding on to the
holding
roots,
on
like,
to the
and
roots.
he was
Yeah,
just holding on. So it was a neat reference from the original movie. I liked. But she cleans her shit off and then she starts walking. She comes up a hill, and they hear her and the dog hear the noise of a bear, and they just peek over and they see it right away. Uh, the wind just shifts all of a sudden, blows their scent downhill, and now the bear is onto them,
right,
and they have to escape that.
right. Yep, they escaped the bear in like a river and some
Beaver dam.
beaver dam.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
She dives underwater, gets into the beaver dam. A bear's on it, but then the predator shows up.
Right.
And this is a badass scene.
Yeah, yeah. The bear and the predator fight,
Yeah,
and
fucking hand to hand
yeah,
combat.
it was awesome. Oh, and the predator was like got hit a few times.
He got the
Yeah,
fucking revenant
yeah,
treatment here, dude. He got
yeah,
thrashed around a little bit.
yeah. He definitely. You're like, oh my God, he could lose this fight if it obviously wasn't a 90
Well, and
minute
I'm
movie.
thinking like, fucking, yeah. I was like, fucking bears giving it to him, and you see the bear roar up with the green blood coming from his fangs.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing we're gonna note by the end of the film. I on the second viewing, I kept track of all of the injuries sustained by the feral predator.
Oh, okay.
Uh, and so thus far, the wolf bit him in the calf, and here the bear bites him and is thrashing him in the water. So that's his injuries sustained thus far. But yeah, the bear ends up pulling away after that first attack, and the predator gets up and he's like, "Come back at me, bro!" And the bear charges, and he kind of bald bulls him like little Mac from Punch Out, and he
Yeah.
just he punches him in the side of the head, and he goes down.
Yeah.
Down goes Frazier, and he brings him back. He cuts him, and he fucking the sweetest visual just lifts him up over his head, and the blood's just raining
Raining
down, and
down,
he's like,
and it's messing with his camouflage, right? This is
yeah,
where
it's like,
she sees and she watches this.
well, and it's just like it's like all the other Invisible Man type movies where an invisible cloak is now drenched in something. So you're seeing the form and it's skitzing out,
Yeah.
and she sees it and she's freaking the fuck out. And she
Yeah.
gets into the water to go downstream to get her
Right.
away, and the predator sees that there's a life form going down,
Right.
but she's able to kind of go.
Yeah. 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 Her watching that scene was great with the.
And it was terrifying. The horror of of him being right there. Like it's the same kind of tension that happened when Arnold was in the water and the predator was coming in stream whenever he was stuck there. The same kind of tension is there where she's hidden at the moment and he's distracted, but you just saw him so physically dominate a giant bear,
Yeah.
and so you're like, oh my god, please do not find her, she's done. And like
Right.
the tension there was really well shot and executed with how they did that. The violence of what it was able to achieve through physically hand to hand defeating a bear, and that's the thing. It's gonna compete with the opponents that it has relative to what they're able to compete with. So a bear and other animals, they're just using what they have on them, their hands. And so that's
Right.
what the predator is using because that's what it's fighting with. That's a fair fight. That's
Right.
the honorable way to do it.
Right. Or if he sees tools, he uses tools.
Yeah, so that's what gets us to the next thing you were asking when the other guys come. She washes up on shore, and
Right.
that's where they find her.
Yep.
And they're like, we're going back.
We're going back. She's like, nah. Then they physically restrain her in a extremely violent fashion.
Right.
Once again, like really um, doubling down on the brutality, or even like the it's a horror movie trope where you have like bullies, right? There's always
Sure.
bullies. There's always heroes, and the heroes get bullied, and then the bullies get their comeuppance, right? So that's kind of how I feel about these other hunters that are not her brother. They kind of fill the role because they are viciously mean to her. It's not just a regular level of like you're coming with us, let's go, and they grab her. No, they grab her, they fight, they hit her. She bites one and like blood's coming out of his arm. They tie her arms behind her back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, she's able to hold her own with the one because it's sort of like the other guy that would have wanted to compete for War Chief, but Tabe got it.
right.
His character's name is right here. Give me a quick second. I can pull up. They don't ever say it. Wasape, played by Stormy Kip. We should note also, we didn't mention it before, but there are a ton of indigenous peoples that are represented in this film by people of the ethnic background. There's only a few Caucasians or otherwise Latino, possibly actors that are playing the roles of Native Americans, but for the most part, these are actual people that are indigenous of uh, in the Americas, and so that's pretty awesome to see. It does not happen a lot, especially like a woman leading this movie and being as well received. That's not it doesn't they're not given a chance often, and they don't nail it as often as this one as Amber Midthunder did. But sweet. So yeah, she holds her own. They tie her up and like moments later they start to hear shit and rustling in the things and she knows something's up because she was just saw this thing dispatch a bear uh and they're like, well, we'll see what that is. It's just a couple possums, and they shoot one and they're like, yeah, see. And she's like, what chased the possums? And the dude soon finds out it's the predator.
It's the predator.
And
Yeah,
this is where we get to see the laser system, laser guided helmet system.
that's right. So
It's new. It's different than we've seen before.
right, right. So it's still the three red dots, but it's like little crossbow bolts, little silver crossbow bolts, and he has to actually shoot them from a gun. They're not shot from the same device that has the lasers,
Yeah,
and they
and they're
go
able to
like
move
they
independently. The
move, and
dots
it's
can
just
move a little bit.
almost like heat sinking, but to the dot.
Yes, yeah, it's a
It's a
laser tracking
very
type
yeah,
thing.
it's a very
Yeah,
neat a neat twist on a
and it's
familiar
on
device.
the guy, the Wasape or Wasape or whatever his name is. They don't think ever say his name, and it's kind of a little bit annoying whenever you see a character's name in the thing. It's like, well, did it matter? It's just I wish I knew how to pronounce it, so I hate that I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Sure.
Uh, so the dots are on him, and he's holding his hands up, and the one gets him in the eye, and so he holds it up, and all you see is you just hear the shooting of the bolts and the piercing of his body, and he falls into the front of the camera on a long shot. Rack focus shifts to him, and you see it's in his eyes and his chest, and he's dead.
Yep.
And so now she's like, "Cut me loose." They're like, "Sit down. We got this." And this is another cool thing. These are warriors.
Right.
They're gonna confront whatever is in front of them, and so they're like the two of them. There's like an older guy and a younger guy. They're like, "Hey, hop over the log." And like, "We're fighting this fucking thing, whatever it is."
Right.
And this is the first full shot where we see this thing uncamouflage, takes the cloak off, and it's like, rawr,
Yeah.
and it's sweet as shit.
It is so
This is
sweet.
what I designed. This is the image that I drew my artwork from of the predator.
Oh, that yeah, that first image. Yeah. Yeah, he looks so good. He looks so good. I mean, no body armor, but the skull mask, the uh, the hair in the newer Predators is more like dreadlocks, and in this is
Yeah,
more like hair, like big, thick black strands. So he looks
yeah.
more
The
looks
mandibles that he's
yeah
got are just like they don't protrude out. You know, they kind of like come down like claws. They just have a there's a a primitive look,
yeah
and it's I would say it's kind of terrifying. Uh,
yeah. It's an excellent look.
yeah, the design and the dude that played it again, I'll say Dane DiLiegro, just killed it. Is super menacing.
Yeah.
So here's the third conflict, the third battle that the Predator's in on this planet. He's up against two guys with spears and bows, and he takes a couple hits here.
Oh yeah.
He
Yeah.
gets an arrow to his forearm. He gets speared in the back, and his foot gets completely done in with a spear.
Yep.
Green blood splattering.
And blood everywhere.
But he takes care of these dudes pretty quick.
Yes. Yes, he does.
Yeah, dude gets his arm cut off. He's sliced in the gut. He's dead. The other guy already got shot with the arrows, and this is where the other shot happened, where he brings out his spear because these guys have spears. This is the cool thing too. He shoots the arrows because they shot arrows at the possum, so he
Right.
shoots the arrows at the first guy. So then it's all it makes sense. And now they come out in front of the log and they've got spears on them, and so he brings out his spear, and
Right.
then we just find out it separates into clubs. This is one of the things where he like impales the guy onto the log, where it's like, how did he like twist his body like that? It's like a little weird looking. Like he
Mm.
hit him, but then he penetrated him into the log, and it was like, I don't see how he did that. I don't get it, but that's all right. Um, can I segue just sidebar real quick here?
Sure.
This is something that's always bothered me about the Predator. I don't like. He's known to be this honorable hunter that wants trophies, find the best prey that's a worthy opponent. One thing though, dude, most of the time, you're fucking camouflaged. That's not fair.
Right.
If you want it
Right.
to be fair, unfucking camouflage and fight fair. Like, that's not fair. Am I wrong? Like, I'm like always saying, like they always talk about it,
Yeah.
like, and you see it in Predator One. It's like you're always camouflaged. Of course they're gonna lose against you. They can't see you.
Yeah. No.
And then in Predator Two, he's going through the streets of L.A. destroying people. They can't see you.
Yeah.
They've got all the guns, but you're invisible. It's like it's not fair. Like and he's hunting a wolf. He's invisible. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Come on.
No. 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 That's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, he.
It bothers me a little bit.
So,
I
I mean,
just don't think it's.
sometimes he does turn it off. I mean, not
I
all the
know,
time,
but
but
it's no, not all the time. And I feel like I'm like, dude, that's an advantage. Like, you can't be like, oh, we're like, you're cheating a little bit.
well, I mean,
Fucking
he also has infrared vision in his helmet, so he's like,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, so you can
Yeah.
see what's alive.
But I mean, his eyes are obscured. It's just a different kind. It's just the way he sees, I guess, right?
Is it?
The
Is it? Or
wolf.
is it
The
the helmet? I think it's the helmet.
well, I mean, it's hard to say.
In one, he changes
Yeah, yeah, that
the
changes. Yeah, the settings. The whole technology and the way that it's utilized is very interesting and unique. And a lot of people that have done the art design and the evolution of the character have shifted it and made sense to why they can do this or that. And it's really cool and interesting. Some people would say it's like kind of a little bit too much. Yeah, I don't need to know that much bullshit, but it is neat. They do adjust it a little bit. And so it's neat because his eyes are completely obscured with this helmet, this bone helmet,
yeah,
but somehow it integrates with his body, obviously, because it's able to seek or to see somewhere. That's where, where you can see stuff through it. So
sure.
I don't understand it, but it's sci-fi, so it doesn't have to be,
Don't have to
it's a
understand
thing
it.
that yeah. So at any rate, those dudes are dead. She cuts her binds on
Yep.
the axe, which she pulls. She grabs her axe, she cuts them, and she runs. She hightails it out of there, and shit. Oh,
She's
she gets out of there. The other dude went to take a piss. She gets out of there. She runs into the field. This scene's still continuing. It's not over yet. The guy grabs her, pulls her down. He's like, "We got it. We're gonna get him. I can see it. We got him."
yeah,
And because you can see the red light from the tree line, because it's looking out into the field of grass that they're both
right.
cowering underneath the grass, but it already sees them. She sees the dots on the dude's front. She's like, "No, he's got us." And this scene was awesome. The
Oh
running
right,
scene,
yeah. Because she pulls them. So this time the darts miss.
right? Because
Right.
she saw the dots and
She
she
saw the
pulled him.
dots. Yeah.
Again, this you got to pay attention. She's seeing how this predator operates.
Right.
The brother mentions it later on, and through the movie, you have to use your visual acumen here to realize she's learning from what she's witnessing.
Right.
This is another scene where she's learning how this creature fights or how it does what it does. So yeah, she pulls him aside, and now they're just hightailing it in the grasses. And this is an
Right.
awesome scene. It's just like in Jurassic Park 2, where the
Two.
Velociraptors are coming through the
The
grasses,
tall grass.
aerial
Yeah.
shot,
Oh
and you
yeah.
just see it knocking down. Whew.
Yeah.
But it gets the one dude. He catches
Yep.
the first. He catches up with that guy real quick, and this is another awesome shot. The long shot with the blood splattering in the air.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So she escapes to the woods, and she runs into a bear trap.
Yes. She runs into a bear trap. A bear trap owned by
The Frenchman.
the French.
Predator approaches, sees the chain, pulls on the chain, and is like, "I'm not fucking doing this. This isn't right."
Yeah.
And then the Frenchman approach, knock her out, take her to camp.
Yep. Right. So she even knows that now that the predator won't fight you if you're helpless. He wants to
Yes.
hunt. He wants to hunt. He does not want to eat. Which is a
And so
line
it,
from earlier in the movie, I believe.
uh, he
Uh,
just he what? Say it again.
he wants to hunt. He doesn't want to eat. It's something that I
The
think they
bait.
said.
He doesn't want the bait.
He doesn't want the
He
bait,
doesn't want
right?
he doesn't want
Yeah,
bait. He wants the hunt.
yeah,
Uh, but I like how she interprets it a little bit further to develop her personal journey. She personalizes it. He doesn't see me as a threat.
right.
I think she attaches it to looking like bait, but she internalizes it more so that it's her specifically.
Right,
She wasn't a threat anymore
right.
because she was doubting herself, and that's part of her journey again until she can feel confident enough to like, no, I'm the fucking I'm the war chief. I can hunt. I
Right,
can do what everyone else says I can't.
right. All
So
right. So
take us up to the camp.
she comes to in the camp, and these are French pirates. I think I'm gonna call them pirates, for lack of a better term, because of
Trappers. I'm gonna. You
well,
go ahead. I'm gonna pull up
there's
the
a
word for the people in the fur trade that went. What do they call it? There's a different name.
there's an Easter egg um, that
There's an Easter egg.
in this movie that later in um, in the franchise refers to a pirate. So
Right, but
anyway,
he was a captor. He was held by these Frenchmen.
oh, he was the
Yeah,
owner
he
of
wasn't one of them.
the
The
owner
gun.
of the
Yeah.
pistol.
Yes, he was like because he spoke her language. He was like an interpreter. He was someone that was
Oh,
being
that guy.
hired,
Oh,
or
sure,
yeah,
sure.
he wasn't
Okay,
one of the Frenchmen.
okay. Anyway,
At
anyway.
any rate,
So what's happening here?
she's in the cage.
All right. They're talking at her in French. Then the interpreter comes up and he's like, you got to help us. What is it? Help us. Do you know anything about it? And obviously they're talking about the predator. And she's like, no, I'm in a cage. I'm not gonna tell you anything. And he's like, trust me, you're gonna wanna help, or it's it's gonna be bad. And this one like big burly Frenchman is like trying to. He's just already being held back by his buddies, because he's like, let's just
Yeah,
kill
this
this
guy is
girl. Like
very this
he's
guy's
like
very over the top.
he,
His character's name is Big Beard. He's played by Mike Patterson, and this guy looks like the definition of a goddamn mountain man. Like he's got lots of hair.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like he looks like if you grew your shit out more than you already do, you would look like this fucking guy. Like,
Right, right.
I think Halloween, you're this guy.
I'm
I'm
this guy.
calling
All
it.
right, all right. All right. So, oh,
So yeah,
geez.
they have the brother.
Right. They have the brother.
That's what. Yeah,
Yes.
pulls him out, cuts him just like uh, just like Danny cuts himself in Predator.
Right,
Danny,
right.
Billy,
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 Billy cuts
Billy's Billy.
himself. Yeah. I watched. I watched the first Predator last night. After.
I rewatched Predator, Predator 2, and Predators with Sarah over the weekend. Yeah.
Really? Did you watch the Predator?
No, it wasn't on Hulu.
Oh,
I think
okay.
even Hulu acknowledged that it's a piece of shit. It's like we don't need that one.
It's like, it's
Thank you.
actually it's actually the worst in the
Yeah,
franchise.
I did we see it in the theater or did I just watch it at some point?
I definitely
I,
saw it in the theater. Were you with us?
I can't remember if we saw Overlord together. Like, there's a few movies that
Okay.
came out like a couple years ago that I remember us seeing together. I can't remember if the
Overlord.
Predator
Oh,
was one of them. Yeah, the
that movie
Predator
was
might have been one
terrible
of them.
too.
I don't remember the angle in the Predator though, where autism played a role. Why
The
is that?
son. The son.
But the Predator is hunting the son.
No, well, no. The son figures out how to use his equipment because he has autism. Because he's
Okay,
super
okay,
smart.
that's because I couldn't remember. People make fun of it. They're like, "Oh yeah, the Predator's hunting autism in this one." I'm like, I don't remember that being a laughable thing. What?
It's
And
definitely
now
not a
that makes
laughable thing. I
well,
don't know why anyone would
but,
laugh about that.
but that's what
Autism's
people.
bad enough. Now he's got a predator after him.
Autism is the secret to unleashing the Predator's bloodlust,
Well,
the blood of an autistic child
all right, you got to give
feeds
it
the
up. You got to give it up. You got to give it up for that movie. For two very important side characters that are now Predator canon, and that is the characters played by Keegan Michael Key and Tom Jane. Oh my God, were they hilarious in that movie? And
yeah,
also, the only redeeming quality of that movie were those two
yeah,
characters.
yeah, yeah. The comic relief there.
Yeah, they were great.
Uh, man. So yeah, we referenced Billy coming out,
Right, with the where he, which it was
Tabe getting slit
so
by the
crazy
thing.
about the original Predator when he cuts himself like that, and then the next thing you see is the party continuing on, and all you hear is Billy scream, and it's literally
Yeah,
seconds after he's
yeah,
cut himself. Like
yeah,
he didn't even fight the Predator. The Predator just killed him.
yeah. And so that's the only other thing. Like, it's not a gripe, but um, it would have been cool had they connected that a little bit more. And I think that you can bridge that gap on your own. Like, this existing in Native American culture in the 1719 could explain why Billy is one of the first to have an inclination that something is out there, something is watching, because of stories from their culture being passed down ancestrally through their bloodlines, that he knows something. And he also grabs at his whatever he has on his chest, which looks a lot like the little satchel that they keep the drug in.
Right,
And
the
so I'm like, to
orange.
me, I'm
Yeah,
like connecting it like canonically, like to why that this is and why Billy understood. He knew what he was up against, but he wasn't capable of really doing anything about it. Uh, I connect that in that way,
oh sure.
but I feel like they could have maybe referenced it more so, or connected it more, perhaps in subsequent movies
Perhaps in the
on this.
Perhaps in Prey 2, which there's
Yes.
no way they're not going to make.
Oh, after the success of this, they absolutely will. They already gave themselves that
Yeah.
little end credit scene.
Oh yeah.
So at any rate, the brother does whatever, and they're more or less like, yeah, they're gonna use him as bait.
Right.
They know that the predators out there. That's why those traps have been set. They've been looking for it, because they've been. It's like they're keen to something is out there.
Right.
So now they're the bait, and this is the next big set piece. Is there's this ashen field of that they burned up,
Yep.
and
And
they've tied
they're tied back
Tabe
to back. Yeah.
and Naru are tied to a tree, and this is where they kind of talk through what's going on. And he's like, "You chose this as your trial. This is your hunt. Is
Yeah.
this thing? I can't believe it." Uh, and she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it didn't fear me. She's working through her shit, but she's also knows that like it's not going to come for them. So it doesn't take long. uh there's guys camped out on the outskirts of the perimeter of this thing, and you see it off screen at first. You just see a dude slump off of his horse with
Yeah.
blood kind of going somewhere, and the guys look back like, oh shit, qu'est-ce que c'est?
Yeah.
And then you can just see the one guy go, merde. And you
Merde.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. They're dead. And there were so many more Frenchmen than I thought there were. Because you only
Yeah,
see a couple of them, and then this scene, they're just coming out of the woods. They just keep next wave, and the predator's like, "Oh, you got more?" And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he just kills the next wave.
And this is where we get to see him do some real cool shit because now he's fighting forces that have guns and other
Guns,
technology. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
right. So this is where he pulls out the shield, and the shield
Yep.
doubles as a very sharp-edged disc um, that
Hmm.
he uses in many ways.
Yeah, he fucking chokes out the dude. The dude pulls a knife and he just looks at him like, fuck that. Activates it and just decapitates him and cuts the tree
Yeah,
right down. Like it's like shink, gone. But it was also just some awesome hand to hand combat. They get the drop on him at first. He steps on a bear trap.
right,
He falls down. His arm lands in another bear trap,
right.
and then they net him, and they're like, "Yeah, we got him." And shink, he gets the dude in the neck. He stands up and drives the dude all the way up in the air, and then comes slamming down. That was another awesome kill. He
Yeah, that was a
flies
good
him
one.
up and punches
Oh,
down
he
onto
one
kill another
one guy
guy.
running away. He shoots the net cutter, which we've seen before, which I
Yeah,
love, is one of my favorite gadgets.
was that first in Predator 2 with Danny Glover?
Was it? It was two. Yeah, I don't think it was in one. Yeah,
No, yeah,
so
because I know
it must have
the
been
dude
in two
definitely dies. I think one of Gary Busey's guys dies with it in
for the
the
next. Yeah,
meat locker, but then they use it on Danny Glover, but he gets out
but
because
he
he has the
cuts it
Predator.
because he cuts it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he cuts it up. Yeah.
yeah, and that was awesome. How it has the little capsule and just tightens, and it just like
Oh, and it goes right
mulches
back into the
blood.
capsule. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, pretty brutal.
yeah. So we actually get to
He takes
see more of it, more of the device.
Yeah, he grabs the bear trap that they got him, throws it at the dude,
Right.
gets him
Just
in the head.
opens it and just throws it.
Yeah, and then close hand to hand combat. He's tomahawking, stabbing dudes. Really great action scene.
Yeah.
But the our leads feel safe because she tells him like he doesn't hunt this way. We're just bait. He's not going to do
Right.
anything.
We're fine.
And so she tells the story about the beaver chewing off its leg. This is a neat little note. I don't know if you double checked the casting. Tabe's played by Dakota Beavers. And
Right.
so whenever she's telling the story and she throws the rock to break them free, she's like, "I'm smarter than a beaver," and he kind of like it's a neat little funny little joke.
Sure.
Uh, and so then Predator takes out the rest by hopping. You see him hopping from trees a couple different times in the movie,
Oh
and
yeah.
here you see they see him happening. Um, Tabe goes to get the horses because the horses are running off, and she wants to go get the dog, and the dog's still at camp. The
Right.
Predator continues to take care of the other dudes. He drops off. He uses his arm here, his little gauntlet with the little key codes on it.
Yep.
It does a little beep bop boop, jumps over them and drops that underground. And this is like another bomb, but it's not the nuclear esque type bomb from Predator. This one has like three little Beyblade looking fucking things that come
Yeah.
out.
And yeah, and they go pretty much straight at the guys, and
Yeah, and you just see it from afar.
yeah.
Uh, and so then we're gonna cut um, to Naru battling the camp of fucking Frenchmen.
Right. Right. Because she's trying to get her dog.
Yeah, she's looking for the dog, and she's got to fight her way through. And this was an awesome action sequence. This is really good choreography where you can see how skilled she is in combat. You know,
Right.
she's trained as a warrior. She dispatches like I want to say four, maybe more, four, maybe five, but I think
Yeah.
four dudes with just close hand to hand knife combat, where she's slicing and dicing. throwing shit and stabbing.
Yeah. And the translator shows up here.
Yeah, I guess we should just it's Raphael Adelini is the name of the character, but Raphael he shows up, he pulls a gun on. It's hard to notice, but during the fight with the Predator in the scene before, he's from far away, hiding behind a tree. He turns around and shoots. The Predator takes a new weapon that we haven't seen and throws it at him. It's sort of like a snap bracelet, but it goes through everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it takes off his leg. He shows up at camp with her, holds the gun on, and says, "Help me! I'll teach you how to use this gun,"
Right.
because he's got a stump.
But she
Like
also gets
like
this.
like an actual pirate,
She also gets
she gets the weapon.
the weapon.
Yeah. So she sees it. I to me logically it says to me I think like okay, what kind of cauterized a little bit because it was like heat based in one part because he uses it to get out of the bear trap at the when the scene first starts. The Predator lifts it up and snap bracelets his
Yeah.
bear trap. It is funny to consider it a snap bracelet, I will admit. Uh, So yeah, she helps him, and he's teaching her how to use the gun. She puts the medicine, and she gives him the medicine, which they referenced earlier makes them cold. She gives him the mushroom and the orange
Right.
flower medicine. He starts to shock, and then she hears the Predator, and so she runs, and he starts crawling away.
But
And then
she's
he's in camp, and she's got to turn around. He plays dead.
right. She sees that he doesn't see him
Yeah, the
because and
Predator
she
follows the blood trail because the blood trail is warm still, but
yeah.
the body is cold. It's neutral.
Right.
It's all dark blue, and it's like, oh, there's nothing here. And she pieces that together.
She sees that. She
Again,
sees him. She says
gleaning more
it
information from
it
her
must
opponent.
be because he's cold. And then but he makes a noise like he screams.
Because the Predator is going to walk away, but he steps on his leg or something,
Yeah, yeah. He
and he's like,
steps on something, and then he
ah! And
just
he's
drops
fucking
something.
dead.
Right? Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, poor guy.
Poor guy.
And so, the Predator, I think, sees her somehow here, but more or less this is where now the brother. Uh, oh no, I can't remember how it happens. The brother is circling camp, but it doesn't matter which beat. But the brother shows up here. He's got a
Mm,
horse, and he's going to start. He comes. He attacks the Predator. Predator's on him.
yeah.
And this is where she sees the laser guided missiles, darts.
Yeah.
He gets his mask knocked off, and
Right.
now it's aimed at a tree, and she sees him shooting the darts, but the darts going around and hitting the tree where the lasers were pointing, so she pieces that together
That's it.
here.
Right.
And now the brother is fighting, and this brother gets some good fucking hits on the Predator here.
Right.
She
Right.
tries to use the gun, but it doesn't work.
Yeah. And he does get a chance to say to his sister uh, that he's like I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna do what I can, but you gotta bring it home. He
Well,
brings
yeah,
that back.
because so this is like where it's intelligently written. It's not just dumb hokey like oh do bring it home to like, but he whenever she's going on the hunt with the lion, he says this can be your.
Right.
There's
He
a
does say
word that
that.
they use that I don't know what the word is. It's
Right.
an
Trial.
H
We're
word.
gonna we're gonna say trial.
Yeah, the trial. Your journey, your trial. Uh, when you do it, you have to tell it. This is where you're. This is where you end.
Right.
This is as far as you go.
This is as
This
far as
is
you
your
go.
end. You're done, like something like that. Uh, and here, after gets a couple hits, I'll list it. He gets his head clubbed. He gets speared right through his body because he comes
Oh
by the
yeah.
horse and goes all the way through him. He gets shot with the arrow like Legolas style. Tabe is like fucking Legolas with these arrows.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's shooting him, running up, pulling him out, slicing him with them, shooting him again. He's
Right.
got several hits on the Predator, but the Predator obviously still wins. Um, but yeah, he tells her more or less the same thing because he's now gonna die. He knows the Predator snuck up
Right.
behind him, camouflaged. Again, Predator doesn't fight fair. Uh, and he tells her those words. This is as far as I go.
Right.
Uh, you, this is where my story ends, and you have to finish this.
Right.
Uh, and so he is dispatched. But she doesn't run at first. She's still shook by it. He then gets the wolf skull and he stabs the predator in the thigh and says to run. Predator finally finishes him off, and so she runs away. And so now it's on. Now it's final scene with where Arnold went to prepare and arm himself with the Boy Scout stuff,
And he made a bunch of
as
traps.
Dylan was said, and that's what she's doing.
Yep. She sets a couple traps. She's got the helmet or the skull helmet piece, right? She
Yeah,
sets
she's
she
got the
sets
helmet.
that up.
She gets the Frenchman. She finds him licking his wounds at the water, and she goes and clubs him and brings him into camp. But
Right.
so she does that first. Then
Yeah.
all the setting up with this. She brings him in because she thinks that she can do it right away. She doesn't get the helmet yet. She sets a
Right.
trap for the Frenchman. This is cool. This is where she's like testing her theory. She takes the medicine. The Frenchman's set up. The gun's not gonna. The gun's fucked up for whatever reason. The
Yep.
predator approaches, doesn't see her, sees the French guy, and now she shoots at point blank. This is what starts this final scene where she does do the setup. She shoots at point blank in the back of the head, and it knocks the helmet off. She takes the helmet and she runs.
Right.
And
Right.
the predator is fucking pissed.
Yeah. Yep.
So then she goes and she sets up the tree with the spears. She sets up the head,
Right.
and she's getting all of her shit in order. And then the final confrontation happens, and she utilizes all of that. Uh, she's what's the first trap that she sets? Oh, she just waits for it near there, right? Yeah, there's blood on the ground in
Yeah.
the environment, and so she is up on the tree, right?
Yeah.
And then she runs off the tree, gets on his back, and she's like four axe chops to his
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
He throws her uh, over into the to that root from the tree, and then but she's wrapped around the her tomahawk thing on his neck, and she's pulled him into the mud. And I
Right.
thought this was gonna be the end. Like she pulled him into the mud, he's gonna drown. I was
Yep.
like, nah, it's a little bit disappointing, a little bit. And I wasn't even thinking about other things that have already been set up. But he gets up and he's infuriated. He brings out his dart weapon and he
Yeah.
aims it right at her, thinking he's got the drop on her, and he shoots it at her, but it deflects as the helmet is set off on a rocks next to him, and it comes through and it just goes right through his head, and that's the end of the Predator.
Yeah. And before we finish, because I mean, there isn't much left, obviously. Um, I had a problem with this kill. Um,
Yeah. Why?
yeah. Now the setup was great. Definitely an homage to the original Predator as well. It was just too perfect. You know what I mean? Like,
With how it
yeah,
worked out for her.
you could have
Yeah.
got the Predator in the mud, stuck in the mud, whatever, but there's no way to know that this tiny little triangle of three red lights was gonna be going through the Predator, right? And it's an easy fix. It's a super easy fix, and I'm just like, she was sitting like or like kneeling, like staring at the Predator, like come and get me, you motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
It could have been right underneath her, you know? He pulls
Yeah.
the thing out, he pulls the trigger, she lifts it up
Oh,
and
oh no,
points it
no, it's
right
it's
at him,
it's
you
under
know?
it's underneath her crotch, and then it symbolizes the womanhood because it comes
Get
from
out
her
of here.
crotch, and it shoots her. No, I'm saying it would have made so much sense. It's
No, it
like
wouldn't
birth
have
and
made.
death, and it connects everything together.
No,
Where what gives her power
what it
is
does
her vagina.
what it does is it takes that little impossible coincidence of being just that lucky away and replaces it with a skill.
Okay, one might also say, how could a person laying prone in a gulch tell that a log 100 plus feet up in the air is perfectly above where this other person is right over here, and if they kick this it'll drop right on, and they're just standing in just the right spot that it
Okay,
crushes them.
I
It's the
get,
same thing.
I
It's
get,
just as
yes,
absurd.
I get that it's a movie.
I agree with you. I do agree. It's lightning. striking
Yeah.
exactly where you predict it to strike. It's
Yeah.
unrealistic. It is, but this is it's a fucking alien.
Yeah, it's an alien movie. Like I get that I'm arguing about realism, what's realistic, what isn't in a
What's
sci-fi
frustrating
movie.
is that people are so upset about her being able to beat the Predator. And this frustrating because two things. One, the whole movie showed you how she learned.
Oh, sure.
Tabe said, he said, whenever they were on the tree before the Frenchman's battle, he said, "You see things I don't. You are a smarter hunter. Like, you have all of that ability that he doesn't have." Uh, and so he, so there's that. She's intelligent. She's learned how this thing
Right.
hunts, and she's able to outwit it. But two, do you need me to list all of the goddamn injuries the Predator sustained
Oh,
already
sure.
that
Yeah.
should indicate that it has fucking been debilitated in some kind of way? And also, Predators are known for having this sort of bloodlust or this rage that impacts their judgment and ability to rationally uh, do what they are trying to achieve.
Sure.
This thing saw her not as a threat, and now it's completely fucking with her. It just got shot in the head,
Yeah.
and then
It
it
lost
was
its
axed
mask.
up a bunch,
Yeah.
lost its mask. It jumped after her on goddamn trees and then landed into a goddamn thorny tree, got impaled. Oh, we didn't even listen. He also, this is even more pissing him off. He's got her. He has the shield. It's
Oh,
the
right.
stone. The stone is saving her. She's underneath stone where the shield can't close around her neck.
Yeah.
She's able to get away, and she deflects, and he cuts his own arm off.
Right.
And he looks at it. He looks at it. He's like, "This motherfucker."
Like
You just
you
see him.
it's like it's like
He's
you've
not
got to
like.
be kidding me.
He's like, "This is fine still,"
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he's like, "This fucking bitch," like not
Yeah.
to like that's
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah.
So he's completely
Yeah.
at the end of his line, like where
Yeah.
he's been beat the hell up,
Yeah,
so
well,
he's
yeah,
going to be a little bit less
he's
effective.
not full strength, and and yeah, she's pissing him off to where he's not thinking straight, and that's where you make mistakes, and she takes
Yeah,
advantage of it, and that's it, and that's how she
yeah,
wins. Yeah, so the end
uh,
scene is phenomenal. She,
yeah. She walks back to
she
camp.
walks back to camp. She's got the head, the neon blood is it just looks so cool. Um, she
It's on
comes
her
in.
face. She's
It's
put it as war paint
on her
over
face.
her
And
her
she
other war paint that she
Yeah,
was wearing.
and she comes in, she just like throws it on the ground and this like neon green splatter.
Yeah, tosses the
Yeah,
gun to the chieftain,
right.
and
Who looks at the name, and the name is there, which we know from the credits as well. Now this pistol is the pistol from Predator 2.
yes,
So that's the Easter egg we had mentioned earlier.
which also indicates a potential sequel. So humans have this pistol now.
Right. So
She
somehow
throws the
Predators
gun
have to get
and the
it.
pistol,
Yes.
and then you just see her awarded the title of war chief because she's hunted the largest prey. She's saved the tribe from what would be death
Yep.
through the fur trappers and through the predator. And you see an awesome scene where she's just sort of like relishing in her moment. She has overcome her personal struggle, and she's overcome this feat of dealing with this threat to her culture and her people. And so she's just relishing in the moment. And then we cut to credits, and
Yeah.
so the gun being handed is a tease, an Easter egg tease. But then at the end of the credits, if you stay and watch, you see the same scene that we just saw. She's awarded war chief, and then you hear lightning, and you see the characters turn in that little art style, and you see three ships emerge from the clouds, and then that's it.
Right. So
So we're getting a sequel.
there obviously will be a Prey 2. Also, so one thing we didn't really touch on, which I thought was like subtext, is that after the Predator dispatches the Frenchman, at this moment in the movie, um, her Naru, and Tabe.
Yeah, Naru.
Yeah, Naru and
Tabe,
Tabe.
yeah.
Um, they have to have a thought where if we don't kill this thing, it's going to
Yeah.
kill our tribe, right?
Right.
So they've gone from so yeah, okay. She obviously is going on this personal journey where she wants to complete this trial that was supposed to be the mountain lion and now is the predator. But at this moment they know that she shares that it's not going to kill them, so they do get a little bit of a chance to prepare. But they don't. But he doesn't run. Tabe doesn't run. Like they could have ran, but no, he gets on
Right.
a horse and he turns right around and he goes straight for it because it, it dispatched a party of hunters from their village that was sent to bring Naru back. It just
Right.
took out all these Frenchmen who have him captive and her captive. If they do not stop it, their family, their heritage, their everything is at stake.
Mm-hmm.
Which is unspoken, but I think is the motivation for Tabe specifically, um,
Sure.
but also added to Naru's already motivation from here on out.
Yes.
It adds a sense of desperation. It raises the stakes, which is what you want to do before you get to the climax, of course. Um, I kind of wish there was a way to have communicated it to the audience so that it wasn't subtext.
Nah.
Um, they could
If
have.
you don't if you don't understand the ramifications of what that would mean, then you're just
Yeah, I know, and honestly, I'm always the one who's saying, treat the audience like they're smart.
yeah.
Don't spell it out
Yeah,
for them.
don't
But I
yeah,
almost
you would be the same
I'm the
person where
guy.
you'd be pissed if Tabe said our village is at risk. We
Yeah,
must
yeah,
defeat
yeah.
this.
If
We
you don't
can't
kill
let it
this,
kill
we
our
can't let it get
elders.
to the village. That's all he had to say. Just something simple, like
You would have hated
not
because
to.
you would have been
No.
like, I get it, obviously.
Obviously, it's gonna go to
You
the
wouldn't have
village.
said that. You were like, my only one nitpick was like, I get it. You don't have to tell me
You
that.
don't have to tell me that he's going to the village next.
I think
Um,
that it's it's a good point. Yeah, excellent film. Amazing
excellent film.
that it came to Hulu. It would be great. People would see this in the theaters if it was released. It's at a 92% right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
7.3
Audience
on IMDb. That's crazy high.
audience score is 81 on Tomatoes. It's a highly acclaimed film. The people that
Yeah,
are saying that it's no good are losers.
definite losers.
It is not like it's just like I said at the beginning where I gave it wanted to give it an 8 as like the fanboy predator type guy. If I have that sentiment, like it is an amazing movie. But for more realistic, like it's a 7, maybe a little bit below if you consider it in the grand scheme of what film can and do as an art form. But if you're just having fun, like this is well executed. To
Absolutely.
me, this film sits right next to, maybe a little bit underneath, the Predator, the or
Right.
Predator, not the
Predator.
Predator,
Right. So
Predator. Uh,
yeah, I mean, so if
this is
we
number two.
let's if we want to be nerdy about it, right? Because the nerds want to know. Uh, so we have to rank them, right? So here it
Yeah.
comes. It's from the bottom up. It's the Predator.
Yes.
Um, Predators. Predator
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Prey.
Yes.
Predator.
Absolutely correct. Again, we're
Absolutely.
excluding the AVPs.
If you want to add the
Requiem being
AVPs,
better than AVP.
you want to add the AVPs, AVP goes under the Predator as the worst movie in either the Alien or the Predator franchise. Um, and then AVP
And this
Requiem
is
go.
coming from a guy that saw Prometheus.
I kind of enjoyed Prometheus. I'm just not
It was okay.
big on
Covenant
mythos.
was really not that great,
Covenant was
but
terrible. Oh my god. How
I'm
how
just
that
messing around.
how that was Ridley Scott. Anyway, okay. I put Requiem under Prey, but still above Predator 2. Requiem, not the greatest acting, not the greatest cinematography because it was way too dark. but it was a horror movie, and they
Yeah,
treated it as such. The aliens were fighting the predators. The humans were consequential. They died in droves, and their stories did not matter at all. They even the love story at the end, the girl's running through the thing, and Shunk she gets hit by the predator's like Guyver blade that he's got, right?
yeah,
Um, and that's why Requiem was so good. Still
yeah,
definitely not as good as Prey, but um, yeah, I really liked Requiem. I'm sure you'd
yeah.
put Requiem under Predator 2, but
Yeah, I like Predator 2 more, but I consider this one, yeah, the second in the franchise as far as quality. Predator 2 has like a soft spot or it's an enjoyability. What I don't understand is some people that consider Predators to be good. It is not good. It's above some of the other ones, but it's not good.
all right.
I just rewatched it this weekend and I saw it a long time ago, but I forgot a lot about it. It
So
is downright fucking stupid.
so Predators is bad. It's definitely bad, but it has some uh, some moments, right? Well, first of all, it's got star power, right? We have Adrian Brody, we have Topher Grace, we have Larry Fishburne, and we've got the big teeth guy who's in everything Timothy Oliphant is in. He
Big teeth
was,
guy.
yeah, he was the prisoner.
I mean, you're not talking about Danny Trejo.
No, Danny Trejo was also in it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that big
Big
teeth
teeth
guy.
guy,
That's
right?
fucked up.
Yeah, he's
That's.
got big teeth. He's
I'm
got a
sorry.
big smile.
Okay, I apologize to this character. I can't
he's,
remember his name.
he's a great
It
actor.
makes me think of. You said the Oliphant, didn't you?
Yeah,
Uh,
he's in all of Oliphant stuff. Like
Also, how
they'll
disrespectful of you to
they're
call him Larry Fishburne. Fucking
it's
Lawrence Fishburne is
dude.
reduced to Larry apparently by this
Walton
asshole.
Goggins. Goggins is his last name. I
Goggins.
Goggins.
And really, he should be fucking forehead guy. Come on.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Hold on. Now I call him Larry Fishburne because I believe one of his first movies was New Jack City, or it was King of New York. King of New York with Walken, Christopher Walken, and during the opening credits, he is credited as Larry Fishburne. He
oh
hadn't made the
really?
change to Lawrence yet, and
Uh,
ever since I saw that,
it's just locked in
I've
now.
just I'm just he's Larry Fishburne. I don't
Okay,
know.
but so Predators is stupid. The
Oh
star
yeah,
power makes it more stupid
so there's
because it
star
like
power
and this is because this is like we're trying to reboot the franchise and it's like yeah, but guess what? You hired morons to write this or
to
to direct it,
yeah
and you thought by throwing money through star power it would be good,
no
and it's just stupid. Lawrence Fishburne is like going crazy, but it
right
doesn't make sense why
so his B plot
he's like
is
he's
the worst part of the
he's
movie.
the it's as if they took his character from Event Horizon and transported him onto this other planet, and he's like going through all this mental breakdown, and that's why he's the way he is. Doesn't make any sense. And
Yeah
he just
yeah
dies. He like just gives up his spot to the predators, and now he's dead. He's lived seasons already during this hunting world, but
yeah
now he's just gonna throw it all away for these guys. Dumb. Doesn't make sense.
yeah.
And Adrian Brody is a complete loser. I do not like him. I hate Adrian Brody.
he was he was pretty bad in the movie as well. Um,
Yeah.
the only good performance I feel, I mean, besides Fishburne going crazy, was Topher Grace. I think he was the best as
Yeah.
the twist. The
Yeah.
re-
But it was still all stupid, but whatever.
it was definitely stupid. Like why would the Predators bring villains to their own
Yeah, I
planet to
know.
hunt them? It made no sense.
Yeah,
Also,
it
why
doesn't.
were they all human? Like, wouldn't they have taken like one human and
Right.
then one
Yeah.
from another planet, one from another planet? That doesn't make sense either. If they're gonna fight all humans, they just go to Earth. So Predators, you're a bad movie.
Yeah.
The Predator, you're
So
also a really bad movie. Giant Predator CG was bad. Human in Predator armor at the end was not cool. Um, Once again, good job, Tom Jane and Keegan Michael Key.
yeah.
You
So
guys
the
do whatever you
exciting
want.
thing to think about, Prey is getting such success. People are talking about it. this is the cool thing too. Amber Mid Thunder is getting lots of praise from the original cast
Oh yeah,
of
she was amazing.
Predator, whether it's through them being associated with other production companies and just like paying it forward by like being paid to say they did a good job. But Bill Duke uh, and Jesse Ventura, Jesse the Body
Jesse the
Ventura,
Body.
have both said what an amazing job she did. He's like, you don't got time to bleed. You killed it.
Right,
Bill Duke's
right.
like, I see you. Just cool references to their shit, saying her shit is awesome. Love to see it. They can do a lot with this next film. Like they're gonna get greenlit for sure. This is like asking, is Scream gonna continue with this new franchise? Of course it is. You saw it. It was awesome, and it just will. This has the end credit scene, uh, and there's so much potential. Maybe she gets taken onto the ships. It's not uncommon for predators to utilize humans to hunt with or to join their ranks. They did that in the comics,
Yep.
from what I understand. But that could happen, or they just come and there's a conflict now because again, the gun is in the hands of the Native Americans, and yet in Predator 2, the gun was in the possession of the predators, and
Uh,
so you can explain that and how that happens again.
right. Which would be what would be cool is to see the actual Predator from Predator 2, assuming they don't age the same as other things. And please don't put a child predator in the movie if that's what you're thinking. It's a bad
Oh
idea.
my
If
god.
you're that's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't even
I'm
consider that.
sorry I put
I
it
didn't
out
even,
there. I'm sorry I put
oh
it out.
my god. Why would you put that energy out there? I didn't even think
I
that
definitely
that was
didn't
a
mean to do that.
possibility.
Oh my
I
god.
just envisioned in my head that these things materialized in
In
full-fledged goddamn
full,
height.
yeah, exactly. There's they don't get raised or born. That's crazy.
I want to see the love story of two predators having a child and struggling through the children where they've outlawed you can't do IVF anymore as predators, and now they have to try to find a way, but they're not able to have children. They're more infertile, and it just never happens, and so it's like their struggles regularly trying to have a predator baby,
Oh my
and
god.
you see them in like gas is expensive, and he can't afford to go on hunts anymore, and it'd be a great drama.
I'm
Man,
so
I like your twist though. Your twist on having her hold the mask between her legs and shoot it at him as being the ultimate win. So smart, dude. That is that's Hollywood writing, dude.
not
You're
between
a
her legs,
genius.
like a sled, like you would kneel on it,
Like a
like
slit?
a sled,
Oh,
like a sled, like she would like have it like under her knees. She'd be kneeling on it, and she'd just like bring it up real quick, like a shield, and it would be pointed at him. They'd turn right around and
yeah.
whack. Yeah, that would be great. Thank God for Pay the Toll watching us tonight. He's clipped two of our best conversations. If you want to watch the clips later, you can watch us discuss hunting, autism, and predator children. So uh, that,
Yeah.
those I bet these
So,
clips are going to be great.
Pay the Toll is also the proud winner of last week's auction lottery
Lottery.
drawing in
Yes.
regards to the t-shirt. He's going to get a free t-shirt from our shop. I think he's interested in a podcast tee, which we still have yet to do. So we do apologize. Pay the Toll artwork is coming fast and furious. We had a little bit of a blip getting some Prey merchandise loaded, but that is also available on the shop as we speak. Please check it out.
He says he's literally dying waiting for his shirt.
I thought he was dying at how hilarious it was to have predator babies.
Yeah, that's I mean that could be it too. All right. Um, I think that'll do it. What do we have on deck?
Well, there's a couple options. I mean, we have both been highly anticipating watching Resurrection,
Right.
starring the great Rebecca Hall
Rebecca Hall.
from
Who?
last year's number two movie, probably The Night House. I think it was number two for us. We had Malignant number
Yes.
one,
Yeah, it was the
Night
number
House
two,
was number two.
and we gave her performance of the year. And I unfortunately read a little bit about Resurrection. She.
Well, don't say shit.
Oh no, it's not spoiler. It's she
She has a
has
predator baby.
a 7 minute no cut monologue that they're already saying is the best performance of the year.
Oh shit.
So I love Rebecca Hall, so here we go, right? Like
So we might do Resurrection,
Resurrection.
um,
And then the
because I
week
think that we both really want to. But
right,
go on, week
and then
after.
the week after, Orphan First Kill comes out, so we will be doing Orphan First Kill, and Rodney will be
Yeah,
watching Orphan for the first time
I'm
before he
excited.
watches Orphan First Kill.
Of course, I absolutely. I
All
will
right.
respect that. I'm not some hayseed rube
Yes.
thinking that predators just materialize. Obviously, they have to have
obviously,
sex.
obviously they have to.
Predator sex has to. If predator sex is not in Prey 2, you're doing a disservice
I
to the
would,
franchise.
I would actually like to see eggs, personally, and like,
What? So a female predator lays a clutch of eggs, and then a
yeah, why
male
not?
predator
Why not a
has to go on
predator?
a hunt, and then he like skeets onto
Yeah,
eggs, and
yeah.
now you
Why not
get.
like fish or like so they're more like amphibious. They don't have genitalia. We've never seen a predator cock. So
I want to see
let's
some
let's
predator
have
oral, dude. I want to
yeah.
see those mandibles go around and just.
I don't think so. We've also never seen a female predator. So why wouldn't there be one female like just laying a bunch of eggs? You know?
We're also assuming these fucking things are cisgendered, which is really
No, that's true.
egregiously
That's also true.
oversight
They
of
could
us.
they could just self-replicate somehow. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, how about the fact that Anne Heche might be dying in a coma right now after crashing her car after a potential drug stupor? Who knows what happened? But she was
What?
engulfed in flames.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Oh,
6 days, 7 nights. Not so good.
the uh,
Sorry.
Psycho remake. Anne Heche.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's dying. Sorry.
Oh, so sorry. Wish you a speedy recovery.
Yeah,
um,
but if she comes, she makes it out, she should definitely be a female predator, getting plowed.
or laying eggs. I'm fine either way.
Okay. All right, let's wrap it up. We've had too much fun.
All right. Season 2, episode 2 in the bag for the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts,
I'm Rodney Godek. Take care.
and we'll see you next week.